October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It's a time to reflect on the strides that have been made and the challenges that still remain. The Balancing Act is committed to bringing you information on medical breakthroughs along with inspiring personal stories.
In fact, we want to hear your story. If your life has been touched by breast cancer in some way, please tell us about it on thebalancingact.com/breastcancer. We'll be sharing some of your stories throughout Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
That's right. The Balancing Act will be right back. Well, you know, raising a child can be difficult for most anyone out there, but raising a child with special needs takes a little something extra. Our next guest knows about this all too well because she is raising a son with autism, and so she's written this book. It is called The Everyday Advocate, and it really is a great resource for any parent. Please welcome to the show attorney, commentator for Dr. Phil, author, and mom, Areva Martin. Hey, Areva.
Hi, Danielle.
I'm so glad you're here with us because we mentioned all these things you are, but certainly mom is at the top of that list, is it not?
Absolutely. I have three beautiful children, two daughters and a son. My son's name is Marty, and I wrote this book in part because of Marty's diagnosis of autism. When he was 2 years old, I started to notice some things that just weren't right in terms of his speech, his language development, and how he interacted with his sisters and other kids. And it led me to get a diagnosis, and eventually we learned that Marty has autism. And I've been on this journey really ever since I learned of Marty's diagnosis to educate and to raise awareness about autism.
You know, I think awareness is so important. One of the things I've always found fascinating about autism is everybody has either has a child in their family or knows somebody who knows somebody. It really is so pervasive, isn't it?
The numbers are staggering. 1 in 91 and 1 in 58 boys in this country will be diagnosed with autism. When Marty was diagnosed, those numbers were 1 in 160. So you look at just even over a 5 to 7 year span, the numbers just keep exploding. And it has all of us really worried. But the good news is there's hope and there's help available to families and to kids.
You know, one of the other things too is more boys than girls.
4 times.
Do we know why?
No, we don't know why. And that's what makes autism a little scary, is because we don't know what causes it and we don't know the cure for it. And we know genetically 4 times more boys than girls will be diagnosed.
You know, you say at 2 years old, you found that he wasn't developing in quite the way his sisters was. You take him to the doctor, you get that diagnosis as a mom, and I have 3 boys of my own, and you love those kids with every fiber of your being. When you get that kind of diagnosis, what goes through your mind?
Devastation. It's really a devastating disorder because it's lifelong and because there's so much about autism that we don't know. And when I talk to families, and I've been talking to families all over the country, about this diagnosis and about their children, and I hear families say over and over again they felt devastated, depressed, grief almost. Parents think that they, feel that their child has been taken away from them. And that's really one of the things I talk about in the Everyday Advocate is how do you move from that place of grief to a place of advocacy, which is really important.
And so this really is kind of like a step-by-step guide in terms of helping parents out there who may have a child with autism, who may have a grandchild, who may, have somebody else in their lives who have it.
That's the book I wish I had when I got my own son's diagnosis, because there's so many.
So how did you start to write it?
When Marty got his diagnosis, I realized that I had to learn so much about the medical system, the legal system, the educational system, and there was so much, even though I'm a lawyer, there was so much that I didn't know. And I want to help families. I wanted families not to have to go through what I went through. I wanted to give them those steps that would help them, what school are you going to put your child in? Figure out what classroom the child is going to be in. What about when he turns 16 and it's time for high school and those hormones are raging? What about jobs and college? So I just wanted to put all of that information that I learned as a parent, as a lawyer, as an advocate in one book that families could have to help them navigate.
The other thing too that I find intriguing and a little bit sad, quite frankly, about autism is that men tend to deal with that diagnosis in a lot different way than women do, and how it affects relationships.
Absolutely.
How it affects the
think
family.
about it. 4 times more boys than girls.
Yeah.
So, this is the son, this is the football player, the basketball player, this is the little guy, that you're going to take to sporting events, and then you learn he has a disorder. So lots of times men have a very difficult time, just dealing with the emotional impact of learning about the disorder. And I talk about it, that in Everyday Advocate. How do you deal with those emotions? How do you get out of that place of denial? And there's some great dads. There's some great dads across this country who are doing incredible things with their kids. But there are a lot of single moms. You raise a very good point. The divorce rate is incredibly high with couples who have children with developmental disorders. And I'm hoping, that through education, through information, we can start to see families coming together and embracing, their child. Because we know when they get that help, when they get the support, the children can do amazing things.
And so when you talk about the Everyday Advocate and you talk about being an advocate for kids with autism, what is the message that you'd like to leave with parents out there who may be dealing with this?
I want parents, first of all, to know that to be an advocate, you don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to have a degree or, have a fancy title, that everyone can learn to advocate. And that advocacy is just about, finding out what your child needs and then being tenacious and going after it.
In much the same way we are with kids who don't have autism.
Absolutely.
It is a parent's, I think, just genetic in them that you're going to fight for your child and do everything you can for your child.
Child being bullied, child having problems, with dating. As parents, we're going to jump in there and do the work.
Let's not get
and that's
into
what
that
the
one
everyday,
right
that's what the Everyday Advocate is about, doing that work in the trenches.
How is Marty doing today?
Marty is fantastic. A little boy who didn't speak until he was 4. He was standing with his peers at his 5th grade graduation. He got to give a little commencement speech during his graduation, and you can imagine the tears. Oh. You can imagine the whole family.
Yes.
It was just so amazing, though. And again, it just shows what the kids are capable of. When they get diagnosed early, when they get to the interventions that they need, the kids, their possibilities are limitless.
Oh, well, we appreciate you being here, Areva.
Thank
you so much. And once again, Areva Martin, the book is called The Everyday Advocate. If you'd like more information on Areva's book, The Everyday Advocate, or the Special Needs Network, you can simply visit the website arevamartin.com.